Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're getting incredibly hands-on. If you've ever looked at a beautifully designed web page and wondered exactly how the developer made the text pop, aligned the headers perfectly, and added those vibrant splashes of color, well, you are in the right place. We're going to build a styled web page entirely from scratch, breaking down the invisible rules that make the web look so good. Here's the roadmap for today: setting up your workspace, diving into the core components of CSS, writing the style rules, applying those styles to HTML, and finally, viewing the output. All right, let's just dive right in.
Section 1. Setting up your workspace. First things first, every great developer needs to prep their environment.
The setup procedure is actually brilliantly simple. Step 1, just open up a basic text editor. Something like Notepad is totally fine. Write your code and save the file with a .html extension. Then step 2, you just open that save file in literally any web browser to render your canvas. That's it. Moving on to Section 2, Core Components of CSS. Let's look at the digital paints and brushes we're going to use to style our pages.
Now, what's really interesting here is the complete anatomy of a CSS style. Think of CSS as a language. Just like English has nouns, verbs, and adjectives, CSS has selectors, properties, values, and declarations. If you want to instruct a browser to make a specific change to your page, you literally have to build your sentence using these exact components. Let's isolate a few of the most important ones so you can see exactly how they tick.
First up is the selector. Honestly, its job is exactly what it sounds like. It targets the specific HTML element you want to style. In HTML, if we want to change the look of our main heading, we use the H1 selector. It acts as our highly specific target.
Okay, once you've locked onto your target, you have to tell the browser what to do with it. We call this a declaration. A declaration is basically a combo of a property, which is the attribute you're modifying, like color, and a value, which is the specific setting, like blue. Notice the syntax here, because it's super important. A colon separates the property and the value, and a semicolon ends the instruction. So, color :blue semicolon is a complete executable command. Finally, we bring the whole shebang together into a rule set. This combines the selector we just talked about with a declaration block. Now, the curly braces are absolutely key here. H1 is our selector, and inside those curly braces, we drop our declaration, color blue. This entire line, that is one complete rule set. It officially translates to, hey browser, find all the main headings on this page and paint their text blue.
All right, Section 3, Writing the Style Rules. We've got the theory down, so let's get into the practical application and actually write the program that will style our web page.
Here's the first chunk of our CSS code, which lives inside the style tags in the head section of our document. Notice how logically organized this is. First, we have our H1 rule set. We're giving it two declarations: color blue and text align center. This means our main title will be blue and perfectly centered on the page. Right below that, we have a rule set for our paragraphs, targeted with the P selector. We're telling the browser to make the paragraph text green, and we're setting the font size to 18 pixels so it's nice and readable. We're handing out distinct, separate rules to our headings versus our paragraphs.
But what if you want to style something super specific without accidentally changing every single paragraph on the page? Well, that's where class selectors swoop in. See that dot highlight selector? That period at the very beginning is crucial. It tells the browser, hey, this is a custom class. Anything we tag with this class will get a yellow background color. Also, observe that text wrapped in the slash and asterisk? That's a CSS comment. The browser literally ignores it completely. It's just there so developers can leave readable notes in the code for themselves or their teammates. Section 4, Applying Styles to HTML. Let's see how these rules in our head connect with the actual text structure in our HTML body. So inside the body tags of our file, we write the content the user will actually see and read. Here, we've typed an H1 heading that says CSS Components Demonstration. Because we already defined an H1 rule set in our CSS earlier, the browser is going to automatically trigger those styling rules the second it sees these H1 tags. Boom, the text is blue and centered. The exact same thing goes for the P tag right below it. The browser recognizes the P, remembers our rule, and renders that text in our 18-pixel green font.
Now, here is the really crucial point about how we handle exceptions. Check out this next paragraph. It looks a little different, right? We've added class equals highlight inside the opening P tag. Because we defined that .highlight class in our CSS earlier, this specific paragraph is pulling in that custom yellow background rule we wrote. It is a wildly powerful way to apply styles selectively exactly where you want them. Section 5, Viewing the Final Output. We've crafted our raw HTML, we've linked our CSS rules, and now it's time for the moment of truth.
And here it is. This is what our simple text file actually looks like when a web browser renders it. Look at how perfectly our instructions were followed. Right at the top, our H1 text is bold, blue, and perfectly centered right in the middle of the window. Below that, our standard paragraph is rocking that 18-pixel green font we specified. And finally, that second paragraph, the one where we applied our custom class selector, has that brilliant yellow background color. Our invisible code successfully transformed into a visual, structured layout. It's kind of magic.
Let's explicitly connect this colorful output back to the theory we started with. This brilliantly illustrates how the components work in the real world. Every single styling change we see is the direct result of a selector targeting an element, a property defining what to change, and a value dictating the exact look. Our H1, P, and dot highlight selectors did the heavy lifting of finding the text, while our values, blue, green, 18px, and yellow, provided the actual visual data. Furthermore, this whole investigation really proves how these smaller components build up complete CSS statements. The declarations combined into declaration blocks, which when attached to selectors form the complete rule sets that powered this entire design. The browser parsed every single curly brace and semicolon to give us our final web page.
By following a dead simple text editor procedure, we've successfully investigated and applied the core components of CSS to build a styled web page from absolute scratch. We styled headings, controlled paragraph fonts, and utilized class selectors for custom highlights. With these foundational rules mastered, the entire visual language of the web is literally at your fingertips. So open up your text editor, start writing some rule sets, and ask yourself, what digital canvas will you format next?